Welcome everybody to another edition of BTS Live. That is Behind the Scenes Live, episode number 25, and I can't believe it's 25. And as always, we have my partner in crime here, Mark Rogers. Hey Mark, how are you?
You know, I'm doing much better than I was at this point last week.
Oh, man. Now, and there's a preview of our guest. And let me just switch this off so she's not, I'm using very fancy technology to get her in here. But
yes.
more on Kelly later. I don't want to spoil the surprise here. But Mark, yeah, you had a little run-in with another car.
So I'm going to apologize. Maybe I should apologize for the guy who sideswiped me right about the time that you were trying to get our show started, and I was rushing home from the car dealership where I wasted a $35 oil and lube because as soon as I pulled out and got on the road, bam, I got sideswiped. And so while you're texting me going crazy, like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? I'm standing by the side of the road on the phone with an insurance adjuster and the police and the whole deal. And yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's this week and not last week.
That is never fun. And before we get into the show here, what I want to point out is I want to encourage everybody. We're on Blab. We started the show on Blab. That's one of the networks that we go to. This past week, it became apparent that Blab is sort of starting to pivot a little bit. They're going more toward video chat and less toward structured shows and supporting structured shows. So, and this is something that everyone should be doing if you're doing a show or doing any kind of structured content. We talk a lot about email lists. So we've started one here. And I want to encourage everyone to join that. It's easy to join. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/BTS email. And that'll get you to the sign up form. Basically what we're going to use that for is make sure we keep in contact with the community here outside of the Facebook group, outside of any of the other networks, just so we have a direct line. And basically what I want to do is make sure people know the schedules, know who's coming up on the shows, also bonus content that we plan for the future. So I certainly encourage you to go that's bit.ly/BTS email, and that'll get you on the list. So, Mark, we have a very special guest today, and we were supposed to be up last week, but unfortunately, you had other plans, unfortunately.
Yes, Kelly was sleeping, actually.
I'm guilty of that there.
See,
that would have been Kelly's excuse had we actually been able to contact her because I wasn't standing by the side of the road, and I was almost put to sleep, I guess. So those were our two fates last week.
So by way of introduction, and Mark, you're going to handle most of this interview. By way of introduction, before we bring Kelly on, I want to show now. Kelly is a anchor and reporter for the Fox affiliate in Nashville, Tennessee. And everyone, I think, thinks that, how glamorous can that be? That's got to be a real glamorous life, right? And I can hear Kelly kind of chuckling in the background. She knows. We all have TV experience. We know what the truth is, and we'll get into that. And I know Kelly's got some great stories. But I want to give you a little look at what Kelly does on some of the kind of the fun things she does and how the glamorous life of being a local reporter. And then we'll come back and Mark will introduce her.
Our intrepid morning show reporter, Kelly Rippin, wanting to see what it's like for the clowns as they get knocked silly by those bulls.
Bye, everyone. Wish me luck. Hopefully I don't break an arm. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. All right, Happy. Are you ready? I'm kind of ready. Oh, my gosh. Ow! 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 It's not so bad. It's not so bad.
Only a few hairs out of place. Kelly Rippin, she's a trooper, isn't she?
Trooper. Boy, at the very least, right, Mark?
Well, you're on BTS Live. We only bring on the most distinguished guests.
Really highbrow journalists, of course.
That's it. That was even kind of jarring just to watch, let alone experience that. That was crazy.
I think I went silent for a reason because I come from an Irish-Italian family when there's a lot of passionate language every once in a while used. So I think my goal there was just, if I go quiet, nothing that could get me fired will come out of my mouth, because that was scary. He was like, "Oh, I'm just going to bump it around a little bit." Yeah, no. That wasn't exactly it.
All right, Kelly, we're going to give you the formal introduction. I knew better than to get you started on something. So, Kelly hails from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She loves all things Steel City related, especially the sports. The Steelers, I'm guessing, are number one.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. That's kind of what I figured from
It's a good
conversation.
assumption.
All right. After stops in Clarksburg, West Virginia, WBOY, also Fox19 in Cincinnati, Kelly is now reporting everything imaginable, as you can see, from the serious to the sublime at WZTV in Nashville, the Fox affiliate. She continues to work for various charities like the Boys and Girls Club as well. Kelly's alma mater, Penn State, remains near and dear to her heart. Most of all, the Four Diamonds Fund 48-hour dance. It's a marathon to help families with children battling pediatric cancer. Kelly also loves her Penn State football, and that's basically how we connected on social media, as Kelly has now joined me for some segments talking some Penn State football on Mark Rogers TV. Most recently, Kelly, of course, you joined us on the Mark and Macy show, and we had a good time as well there. So welcome to BTS Live, Kelly.
Thank you very much.
This is great. So all you need to do is follow Kelly on Twitter, and you get a dose of this almost every day, whether it's in a barrel getting pushed around, or it's at the side of some accident, or I see all sorts of stuff, Kelly, that you're tweeting out. So
it is never a dull moment, which I think is really why I got into this business. I could never sit behind a desk and work at a computer all day. I just would not be good at it. An anchor desk is much different. Things are obviously change and move and going. But yeah, it's always been an experience for me. And I feel like, I don't know if it's partially my odd luck that I get thrown into some of these things, but you know what? It's fun. It's always fun. Even the bad stuff isn't fun, but you still get that opportunity to meet new people and experience new things and kind of broaden your own horizons.
Yeah, we're kind of highlighting some of the crazy stuff like that, but your range of reporting spans it's all over the place.
It's all over the map. Yeah, I get that question a lot. What do you report? I'm like, well, that's a really great question. Yes, I was a rodeo clown for 5 minutes. I had a squirrel pee on my head. I'm surprised you guys didn't find that clip to dig up. But that was really fun.
Just give us some time. We'll find it.
Squirrel. Yes. Oh, it's pretty easy to find. It made its way.
I think I caught that one.
Yes, that one made its rounds. But yeah, I mean, today I was on the airport lines being crazy with TSA, and then ended up at a house fire. And if that hadn't worked out, we would have been covering Vandy baseball, who's headed down to the SEC tournament in Hoover. So it really changes by almost the minute, and that's what I love so much about it. But yeah, I consider myself lucky that I get to do all these different things. It's hard sometimes to jump back and forth from one to another, but I like it. I think it's a blast.
You know, the last time we talked, Kelly, we brought you on to the Mark and Macy show and caught you just at the right appropriate time to talk about the Aaron Andrews trial that you had been covering, and obviously the sports connection and the reporting connection, and that was a great discussion. So some folks can check that one out as well. So, wow, where do we start here? Let's talk about your career path, because we talked about it a little bit before we started to record the show in regards to some of the things that are assumed by journalism, broadcast journalism students at various schools, and I experienced the same thing. And hopefully you have a professor or two who kind of sets you in line and tells you what reality is really going to be. So
you're exactly right.
So what are your thoughts about the way you got started? What were some of those key moments and contacts that you made?
You know, I think probably the one thing that sticks out to me the most is I had a great professor at Penn State. He, I now believe, is at Kent State still. But Thor Wasbatten was my professor at Penn State, and you know, he was very blunt with you, which I so appreciate now, especially in this business, because, you know, you can't take things personally. It's business. You can't feel upset or hurt if someone's like, hey, your hair looks like crap like that, change it. You know, there's a lot of people could internalize that stuff. And yes, it's a weird profession that your boss can look at you and say that, and it's not a lawsuit, but it's part of the business. And so he knew that I wanted this. He knew I was committed. He knew I was like ready to go. And he brought me into his office and said, okay, so print out the list of television markets, print them all out. I said, okay. So I print them out and I go in his office. He said, all right, how many pages is it? I said, 5. He said, okay, throw away the first 2 pages. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, those are all the cities that I would be interested in. He was like, that's great, Kelly, but you're not getting jobs in those markets. And I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? And he actually said, start with the back end and go through and find cities that you think you could live in for 2 years. He said, 2 years, that's all you have to do, is find cities that you could live in for 2 years. So I did that, graduated in May, didn't have a job yet, ended up at home nannying my nephews essentially 24 hours a day. And you know, we had a little routine. Every Monday, I'd send out 5 or 10 DVDs, resumes. You know, this is before YouTube links were widely accepted, but send out DVDs, resumes. We'd have the packages. My nephews would give them good luck kisses, and we'd ship them off. Every Monday, we did the same thing, and I'd do 5 more or 10 more the next week. And then finally, I got a call from Clarksburg, West Virginia. A couple other places started to show interest about the same time. And I drove down. It was actually only about 2 hours from my home. And I'll be honest, I kind of targeted markets, smaller markets that were closer to my house because I knew, A, I was going to be making no money, and B, I didn't want to be in Idaho, which is a market that I've had friends go to, but I just knew personally I wanted to try to stay on this side of the Mississippi. So I did all that and ended up in Clarksburg, West Virginia. And I was telling you before, I cried every day for the first 6 months. I'm like, what am I doing? My friends are in Manhattan, DC, Philadelphia, Chicago, like all these amazing cities, living these glamorous lives and buying designer purses. And here I am just trying to go to the grocery store and living in Clarksburg, West Virginia. But, you know, by the end of it, I cried when I left. You know, 2 years came up and I couldn't even believe that 2 years had happened. And I knew I needed to leave West Virginia. I knew I was ready to go to a bigger market, but the experiences that I had there are invaluable. And I kind of joked with you guys earlier. I said, I feel like the old lady now. That's like, your time in a small market is so valuable. But I mean, I was MMJing, so I was shooting, writing, editing, you know, doing all of it on my own, driving into the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, which never had cell phone service. Google Maps meant nothing in the state of West Virginia at the time. So, you know, me and my BlackBerry are trying to get around the whole state of West Virginia, and it was a mess. I mean, I got lost. I learned how to talk to people that I had nothing in common with, which is something that's so valuable in this business. So, yeah, my directions were stopping at the local gas station, getting out, being like, okay, tell me where to go. Don't give me street names. Give me, okay, the Big Red Barn or Joe's house. I mean, that's honestly how I ended up getting around West Virginia. So that experience was invaluable, and I got to anchor on the weekends. So I produced a show. I did all of the web content on the weekends. I mean, you really learn to be a jack of all trades, which so makes me appreciate more what my coworkers do now, because I don't have to shoot a thing anymore, and man, it is glorious. But at least I understand the struggles that my photog is going through, or when my producer is like, stop, you know, going long, you're driving me crazy and you're ruining my show. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to dial that back. So I can appreciate what they're going through and how they're doing that. But yeah, then I went on to Cincinnati, and, you know, I think you mentioned kind of making contacts and how did I get there. You never know in this business, and this is probably one of my favorite things to tell interns and young journalists. I mean, you don't know who the next person is that you're going to meet that's going to impact your career. They taught us this at CBS when I interned there. They said, you know, don't have an ego. This is not the place to have it. This is not your time. You don't know who means something. And I didn't really, it was the first day of the internship. I didn't really understand all of it, but I became friends with the door guy. You know, I just every morning, hey, how you doing? How are your kids? How's your family? We just chit-chatted back and forth. And I had no idea, but I mean, this man had been a doorman for CBS for 20 some years, knew everybody. And at the end of the summer, went to the intern coordinator and said, hey, there's a handful of kids that have really stood out to me. And he gave her all of our names. And I think they sent us to David Letterman or something. They sent us to one of the shows and just handed us tickets. And we're all like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. But I had no idea that that man knew so many people or knew my name even. But it got me in a good situation with the internship coordinator who, said, hey, if you ever need a recommendation, let me know. I'm like, okay, this is great. So it's just one of those things that really means something. And getting to Cincinnati is sort of how that happened. I became really good friends with a state trooper in West Virginia. And he's like, my aunt is a producer in Cincinnati. And I'm like, oh, really? I was like, I would love to just send her my stuff and get feedback and, get her opinion on if she thinks I'm ready to move on. And he said, sure. So I sent it to her. She wasn't a producer. This is how little men know. No offense, Mark, I love you. But she was a main anchor in Cincinnati at the Fox affiliate there and had been in the business for years, got my name in the door, and I was reporting there like 2 months later, which was just crazy to me. But she was so encouraging and just a really great person, a great mentor to have. And of course, I still talk to her. But you really don't know who knows who or why they know each other. But if I had thought that was going to be the way I got my second job, I would have never believed my own self telling me that. But it was pretty crazy. And it was a great experience. And then after that, I guess I'm more established in this business now that I can do things a little bit more on my own. So it's just baby steps.
So, Kelly, the state trooper was clueless about television because he was a guy, not because he was a state trooper. Is that
No. He was an excellent state trooper. Very excellent, actually. And I still talk to him every once in a while, too. But he just, he didn't know what his aunt did. He thought she was a producer or whatever. He didn't know how all of this works. So, yes, you're exactly right.
And you did make a connection, Kelly, between, did I get this right, your professor, between Penn State and Kent State?
Yes.
Because that's where I graduated from, Kent State. And you instantly brought back all these memories of a professor I had who was similar in his approach to
the
just
delivery.
Kind of jar us, shock us, and tell us, you're not making anything, and you have a Western Pennsylvania accent. You need to get rid of it right now. And and he would just, be
he looked at me and goes, go chop 7 inches off your hair. I was like, excuse me, I'm 21 years old. I'm like, going out and having fun. He's like, no, go cut it. And I was like, I can't even afford that right now. He's like, that's fine, I'll pay for your haircut, but you're going to cut 7 inches off your hair. I said, why do I have to do that? He's like, because you look like a 21-year-old college girl. I said, well, I am a 21-year-old college girl. He goes, right, and you're competing for jobs against people of all ages. Like, you got to go look older, look responsible. And then he said, once you get a job, I don't care what you do with your hair. And as you can see, I've just probably not cut it since that moment. But it was a little jarring. And my friends, of course, couldn't believe it. But like, your professor can't tell you to cut your hair. I'm like, he can, and he did. And I'm going to listen to him because I want a job in this business.
Yeah, I had one of my professors who I didn't even know that well. You have professors that you interact with a lot, and then you have some other ones within I think it was the telecom department at the time, but she watched one of our newscasts for the campus cable station. And we got done, and she told me, you're good at this, this, and that. You've got a future in this business, but you need to do this. You need to stop being a smart ass and being so sarcastic on the air because people aren't going to like you. I was like, okay.
Some people not. I would have loved it. I think that's great.
So that's really cool. So maybe I throw out my next question because I'm usually just so organized with these questions.
Okay.
No, but the next thing that was going to come to mind was typical day. But there's really not a typical day. But if you can give us some kind of feel for how you get approached with stories and how that works.
So I anchor our first half hour in the morning. So 4:30 to 5 in the morning, which I love the morning shift. I'm one of those weird people. I am a morning person, but also I just like the vibe of a morning show. And that's what I think a lot of people, I didn't realize in West Virginia, you learn your strengths and your weaknesses. I like a show where I can be a rodeo clown and then I can also report the Erin Andrews trial, and it's almost seamless. So I enjoy that about a morning show. Not that you couldn't get that on a night show, but there's a lot more structure to a night show, and I kind of just fly by the seat of my pants. So I wake up at 2 in the morning. I get to work at 3. I usually go over my show, my half-hour show. We have some really great producers, but they're crunching out stories left and right. So I'll go in, I'll kind of do a little finesse, kind of write it how I would say it, double check a couple of things. I, as you know, love sports, so I'll say, hey, do we have the Preds in? Do we have this in? Because not everyone shares a love of sports like I do, but I also think when it's newsworthy, you must add it. So I'll do that kind of stuff with her. Everybody else gets in about 3:30. We have a meeting, kind of talk about the day. Because I anchor that first half hour, my assignment is usually kind of held off, or at least we don't confirm where I'm heading, because in that half hour, who knows what can happen and breaking news could occur. So I go anchor while I fix my hair and do my makeup, because I'm not doing that at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I do that when I get there. We don't have people that do that. That is, I still get that question in 2016, who does your hair and makeup? I'm like, hey, you're looking at her. And I'm not good at it, but that's okay. So we do that. I do my 4:30 show, and then after I get off the desk is usually when I get an idea of what I'll be doing, where I'll be going, which I know to some students or people that are just getting into the business, that's like, oh my goodness, you're just finding out 15 minutes before you go do a live shot, which is pretty much the case 90% of the time. Every station is different. We're really big on following the breaking news. As a Fox affiliate, we've got hours to fill, hours, and it's just going to get longer and longer and longer. But I kind of find out right before. Sometimes we try to pre-plan. So again, if it's sports related, when the Preds were doing playoff runs, that was my live shot. I was going down to Bridgestone. I had the jersey. We had the, didn't have fans, but we had access to the arena and we could be on the ice and do things like that. But most of the time it's, okay, what's happened overnight? How can you make this a story? And yes, I think after a certain amount of time, I can make a story about almost nothing. And you learn that in your first market. West Virginia, I would package just about anything, and I could find a way to package, the Strawberry Festival for the 700th time. And, you learn to make it your own and make it interesting. But I'll go out, we move a lot. So if something happens, they're pulling me and I'm going to a different story, and we run and gun a lot on this show, which is fun. It's definitely different. Cincinnati, I planned ahead a lot and scheduled live shots. So development and community, things that would really impact the community. Unfortunately, there was a really big, and still is, drug problem in northern Kentucky with heroin that was growing at an alarming rate. And I happened to make a good connection with a mom there who had a personal story. So I kind of ended up on the drug beat, per se. And some markets do still do beats and different regions and things like that. We don't as much, but I think as Nashville continues to grow, we probably will start to move that way as we add staff. And then I'm done at 11, and apparently napping on Mondays whenever you guys are trying to call me.
That's it. So you mentioned the Preds. So for the non-sports people out there, it's the NHL's Nashville Predators. Mm-hmm. And yes, for a few weeks there, you were just going full bore on these Preds. You were all over the place.
I will tell you what, I have not slept so little in so long, because I was going, these games were in the Western Conference, which kind of makes no sense, but I also understand it. So our games were at 9, 9:30, 8 o'clock at night, and I wake up at 2. So it was exhausting, but it was so worth it. I also had a monster cold in the middle of it, and we happened to be in the middle of May sweeps. So yes, the hockey team made a solid run. I was a little nervous because I'm also a Penguins fan. Like, oh no, what's going to happen when my worlds come together and I have to openly say, by the way, I'm from Pittsburgh, and I kind of love my hometown team forever. I love the Preds, and they've been a great organization. So it was fun to follow. I'm happy to return to sleep again. It's been very nice. I still don't sleep a whole lot, but 6 hours is better than the 2 or 3 I was getting during the playoffs.
Well, who knows? Maybe that Tennessee Titans-Pittsburgh Steelers playoff game is coming down the road at some point. I'm
going to go with not this year. If I had to guess, maybe next year. We'll see how Malarkey does this season. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, so we're joined by Kelly Rippin. She's a anchor reporter at WZTV, the Fox affiliate in Nashville. So Kelly, Marty and I do this show every week. We're basically building out some tips, some advice, some instruction for people that are starting maybe their own internet show, or maybe they've been doing it for quite a while, but they want to advance. And you got a pretty good feel before we came on in terms of what Marty's advanced on the technical side.
Yes.
He is going crazy with this, and it's a very good thing. So I try to balance it out from the on-camera side of things. So whether it's somebody who's just flipping open the laptop with the internal camera for the first time and trying to present themselves in a reasonable way, whether it's entertainment or information, or it's somebody who's done this a while but they just want to get much better, maybe some tips for those people.
And I think we all learned this in journalism school, depending on when you went, doesn't matter. I really do kind of go back to feel like you're telling your mom a story. And my mom is a great news consumer, which is fantastic. It's also annoying because she'll text me and be like, your hair looks like crap. But she is very good at following all of this and kind of getting a gauge on it. So I've really taken to that advice a lot. But I would say to people, you don't want to put on this whole front of something on camera and then get caught being somebody different, and not in a personality way, but you have people, and I did it. I know I did it. I did this like high-pitched reporting voice where I had a cadence of everything I said, and my professor looked at me, and same professor, of course, said something and struck up a conversation with me, and looked at me and goes, okay, so why do you talk like a different human being whenever you track or when you read a story? He's like, that's not you. And what are you going to do if one moment you get caught off guard and on camera you're like, what? And say something goofy. He's like, allow that to be yourself. And I love that. I think people really connect with that. I get that a lot from viewers. Like, I feel like you're my daughter. I feel like you get that I'm just watching the news. And I appreciate that. That's like the biggest compliment that I can get, is that they really feel like I give them the story. I'm not trying to over dramatize something. There's a house fire. Yes, it's tragic, but everyone's okay. So, get the first things first out there. Hey, everyone's all right. That's the best news. But yes, right now firefighters are battling this outrageous fire that has completely torn through this house. Giving people a picture of what's actually happening since they can't be there, and how does it impact them. Most people are like, oh, that's nowhere near me. What do I care? Well, when you humanize it, when you say, like, this family of 3 was sleeping in their house at 7:30 this morning and this house caught on fire, like, that's a little bit more of something that people can connect with. I'm trying to think. I really, personality is a huge thing, but just allowing yourself, I said, to be you is huge. And I'm trying to think. I mean, social media, you guys have kind of got it pegged with this stuff. It's such a big deal, but be smart about it. It's a little hard for me to still watch some of the younger journalists come up and they're allowing anyone to be friends with their Facebook page or their Instagram of all their personal private moments. And this is me, but I think I really like the barrier. I mean, I have a work Instagram and a work Facebook page and a work Twitter. And yes, you'll get these people that try to connect with you on your personal front. And I like the barrier there. And I am always thinking 10 years down the road, do I want my, let's say the Today Show calls me someday. Do I want them to have access to a picture of me at the beach with my girlfriends 10 years prior? Probably not. Like, I do, it depends on what you want to do and what you want to be. For me, as a journalist and someone who wants to be a serious and fun journalist down the line, I don't want those things out there. And I think so many younger journalists are getting caught up in the social media craziness. And it's easy to do, but there's such a good balance that I don't think it's that hard. Maybe it is, but I don't know. There's a level of, you see me tweet all the time. I tweet goofy things. I get a little spicy every once in a while about certain topics, but for the most part, I recognize that I am a public figure. I have to remember my role, and I signed up for this. So I knew what I was getting myself into before it happened. But as far as getting in the business, don't give up. I mean, we talked about it too. You learn so much about yourself. I'll tell you, there have been moments where I'm alone in Nashville on Christmas Eve, I've got no family. I have like 3 friends because I just moved here, and I don't even know if they're friends yet because I've been here for 2 weeks. And you kind of look around and you're like, oh man, this is hard. It's an empty feeling, and it's scary, and you're going to cry, and you're going to be poor, and you're going to look around and be like, oh my gosh, my friends have this and that and the other thing. And it's great, but I love my job. I go to work every morning. I'm happy. I hang out. I go to work. I do my thing. And I think it's conveyed that I really do genuinely love being there and doing it. And I want to make the best product out there. So if you feel that way, it's worth it. But it's not going to be without hard times. Of course not. So I think that's just don't give in, and respect every single person that you encounter. Like I said before, you don't know who's going to help you get your next job. But even, in West Virginia, I worked with people who will be there forever at that same station and wouldn't help me with my career. But man, when it came down to, a complete tech meltdown and they were the ones that could fix it, if I was a nice person, they were certainly a lot more quick to be like, we're going to get back up and live. I promise, don't worry, as opposed to like, oh, well, this person's kind of a turd to me, so I'm going to go ahead and take my time fixing things, which has happened. I mean, it's not a lie, but I think that's so important as you kind of climb the ranks, is to realize every person still means something, and none of us can do our jobs without the other person.
Kelly, something you just hit on just a minute ago, your energy, your exuberance, it's infectious, it's obvious. I really admire, because I'm somebody who takes great interest in certain subjects. Other subjects, I'm like, I don't care. But as a reporter who's going to get assigned anything out there, you have to be engaged and you have to take some type of interest, or that's going to not be conveyed in terms of any kind of interest in
and
that.
Actually, you just reminded me. I was going to say that, and then I got on my, soapbox of other things. But we have still a talent coach that comes through every once in a while, and he's great. And he gives you really good advice about connecting and realizing that, you are that person, that viewer's only connection to this story. They live 45 minutes in the other direction. They're never going to meet that person. They're never going to see that person who was affected. How can you tell them why they should care? And it's something that I've really learned, even just here in Nashville, anchoring more frequently. I mean, obviously I anchor every day now, but the way to read, I was doing a lot more reading. He's like, don't read to me, tell me, explain to me. We've got a child missing. You don't have a child, but you need to realize the magnitude of that, which is when you're anchoring and you're learning to anchor and there's tech problems, which, let's all put that out there right now, we know happens essentially every single day. Technology fails us, but you have to adapt to it. And, as I'm anchoring, I'm a newer anchor. Yes, I anchored in West Virginia, but not daily, and not a show that goes out to as many people as Nashville, Tennessee does. And I save clips probably, I don't know, every 3 months, and I'll tap back in, check it out, say, oh, wow, okay, I've gotten a lot better at this, or I need to not do that, and different things like that. But you're right. That's connecting with your viewer is so, so important. And they can tell when you don't. They absolutely can tell.
So there you have it. You've got somebody in Nashville, Tennessee at that level, and of course the phone goes off, that reviews tapes. Marty and I talk about this all the time. For as uncomfortable as it can be, you need to look at it every so often and just kind of, hey, this is where I'm at. Hey, I need to improve on these couple things. I can't be a pro overnight, but hey, I need to improve on these things. Yeah,
it makes you very uncomfortable, especially because, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, I don't like being the center of attention. I don't like all eyes on me, which people are like, you're on television. I'm like, right, but there's that wall. Like, I don't see those people. I know they're there, but I don't know that they're there, and I like it that way. But yes, it's something that's so important to do. And watching yourself back, you have these cringeworthy moments. You're like, oh God, why did I look like that or say that or have that tone of voice that sounded so disingenuous? But it's definitely, you have to. You absolutely have to.
Kelly Rippin joining us from the Fox affiliate WZTV in Nashville, as we can see on your back wall right behind you.
I know. My friends tease me. They're like, if you ever forget where you live, I guess you'll know whenever you watch television. Like,
there it is. So you've ingrained yourself into the community. That's good to see.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much. This was awesome. Thanks for helping us
Thank
out.
you guys.
Let me. I got a little more complicated setup this time around than I normally do. Let me go to the toolbox here. So I'm flipping through different things, Mark, and I want to thank. Kelly. Thank you very much for being with us. That I think our audience got a lot out of your insight. Also, I'm listening here, and Mark works at ESPN. I'm an alumni of ESPN. I've been out for 2 years, and I'm listening to your stories. I go, boy, I totally feel your pain. I know where you're coming from and all that. It's so true. And I think a lot of people think that we talk a lot about, Mark and I talk a lot about the easy button. Everyone's looking for the easy button. And they look at where you are today as, oh, I just started yesterday. They don't see the whole journey along the way and all the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to get to whatever level you're at, right? And you're telling your story, and I think we spent the last half hour going through all your experience, and I don't think people realize, like, this is the part you don't see. And what really resonated with me was the Christmas story.
Oh yeah.
We all, anybody who works on TV, we know. I mean, I don't know how many Christmases I've worked. Mark can tell you stories. I know you, obviously, and that's the part
Every
that people that they see the glamorous, but they say, well, yeah, we work. It's 24/7. We work every day. We work holiday.
Oh, I've missed weddings. I've missed baby showers. I've missed so many things, and my family and friends. That's the other thing. Have been so supportive, and I realize that just about every time that I move or, have to call and say, I'm so sorry, I know I'm in your wedding, but I can't be at the shower or the bachelorette party or whatnot. And they've all been so amazing about it. So I'm very lucky.
It's a different week. We at ESPN would always say, oh, the 9 to 5ers versus the production folks. Yeah. It's like they have, they have no idea what it's like, and everyone sees the glamorous part. But Mark and I both have interviewed people, and the first thing we would say is nights, holidays, weekends, about 50 million times.
Oh, I mean, this job is the first Monday through Friday job that I have had. So this life of me being able to travel on the weekends is new to me, and it's fun and it's crazy. But no. I worked nights and weekends, West Virginia, weekend mornings in Cincinnati, which was like a new kind of torture, but it was great.
That's right.
It was, I got to have some of the most fun live shots and grow so much there. And yes, I missed a lot of important things, but thankfully everyone still loves me and my family, I think, as far as I know.
I think so. They get used to it. I was at ESPN. Mark's still there. I was at ESPN for almost 19 years. I was there at least 1 minute of every hour of the day, at least once.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right.
Yeah, right. I worked nights, I worked morning, I worked all different times. So yeah, they get used to it. And I'll tell you, it's quite an experience. I mean, there are pluses and minuses. The rush, the adrenaline rush. You know what it's like to be part of television and being part of a team, like you described. I mean, there's nothing like it. And then you got to take you got to love it, because you're going to be working all kinds of weird hours. But it's
the weirdest, but that's okay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Kelly, for being our guest. Hopefully we can have you back sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. It's worth not sleeping for a little while to do this.
There you go. Absolutely. Mark, I want to thank you for conducting the interview. I think Kelly was great. I think judging from the comments, it was good. I was juggling a lot of buttons, and normally when we do the show, it's just Mark and myself, and I have a workflow, and we talk a lot about video production, and I think trying to bring you behind the scenes here, no pun intended, of what we're setting up here. But yeah, we're flushing out our workflow here, and to bring another person on requires a little different workflow. So that's why you didn't see me on the screen. We tried to switch back and forth. So
all right, like I said, I'm gonna start nagging you a little bit about how you got this set up. I see the graphics. I love it. I'm interested all of a sudden.
Kelly, he is the mad scientist.
It's great. It's great. And that's the other thing. You guys said you're talking to so many people that are doing this type of journalism, and it's possible, and it's very cool these days. Absolutely.
Well, Mark, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Want to remind everybody, our Facebook group, I think it was posted in the chat. If you're on Facebook, I know Knight Rider Walter posted it, but if you're on Facebook, just search BTS Live Show, and you're more than welcome to come in. We talk video production behind and in front of the camera. Very active and engaged group there. We also wanted to point out that you can see the show on btslive.com. That's our website. You see it live and also replays 24/7, just like a regular TV network. Also want to promote you, Mark. You have your network and your YouTube channel, Mark Rogers TV, and you do shows on college football there, right? Anything you want to promote coming up?
Yeah, let's see. In addition to the doctor's appointment today, then coming on here, and then at 3 o'clock, I have a Washington Huskies blogger coming on to talk about their defensive backs. And then I go to my daughter's softball game. She's playing in the state playoffs. Then I come back to do 3 segments for Texas Tech football. And my day hasn't even started because then I need to go and work all night at ESPN. So that's my day. But Mark Rogers TV, if you love college football. And we also, of course, as Kelly knows, we've got the Mark and Macy show on Thursday nights on Blab.
Perfect. Excellent. And I do want to promote a couple folks coming up later today. My friend Stephen Haywood, who and he gets sick of me here telling him this, but he is, and I will always promote him. He's a great guy. He has a network, the techbuzz.net. I encourage everyone to check that out. And tonight he has his weekly roundup every Monday. Pre-show starts at 5:30. The show itself starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. And a very special guest today, Scott Wilkerson, who is editor of AVS Forum. We'll be talking home theater. Scott is tremendous. So if you're in the home theater, or even if you're not, you want to learn, I highly encourage you to check out the techbuzz.net/live for 6 p.m. It's going to be a great show. And also, Stephen has a Tuesday show, Broadcast Now. I am pleased to be part of that, along with Mike Myers, and we talk hardcore broadcasting, all kinds of good stuff, equipment, gear, technique, in what's in the news. That's all Tuesday, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I think I've gotten through all the promotions, Mark. I think we're ready to wrap this up here. Let me just switch to here. Again, thanks to Kelly Rippin. Mark, thank you very much. This has been another edition of BTS Live. We're back here. Actually, we're going to take next week off. Next week is Memorial Day, so Mark doesn't even know. So I figure we'll give Mark and myself a break, and I'm sure people are at picnics, so we'll take next week off, and we'll be back the following week with another great show for you. Mark, yes?
I kind of thought it was nights, weekends, and holidays. But,
I know, right? As soon as I leave ESPN, it's like, that goes out the window. Forget it. I'm taking the holiday.
Getting paid for this. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Oh, that's right. So we do it for free. Kelly knows. Well, maybe Kelly can sub in. You know, she's used to. Although
I'll be working on Monday morning.
she's got that nice Monday through Friday gig. So I wouldn't upset that. So that's actually.
Yeah.
Good. All right, guys. We will see you in 2 weeks on BTS Live here, btslive.com, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. For Mark Rogers, Smarty Patton, we will see you in 2 weeks.